Hi, this is Tabitha Frost from tabithafrost.com. Thank you so much for joining in this webinar called Pinteresting Ways to Level Up Your Brand. So a little bit more about me and how I'm qualified to host this webinar. I am a Pinterest strategist, and I actually started my own health and wellness blog called allnaturalandgood.com in 2013, and more than 80% of my website traffic has been coming from Pinterest since this time. And from there, I just kind of branched out into doing freelance work, building websites, working on SEO and other Pinterest accounts for businesses and bloggers. And I've also worked for Tailwind's Pinterest marketing team, so I created 750 pins for them for over 50 different bloggers. And then that's kind of led me to open my own company doing Pinterest marketing and management, website services and SEO services, as well as some content writing. So let's get started. So what exactly is Pinterest? Despite common belief of it being a social media platform, it is actually a search engine, or as Pinterest calls it, a visual discovery engine. So much like Google or other search engines, there is an SEO component to Pinterest. Don't overwhelm yourself with that. We will go over that, and it's fairly easy to navigate. So also, I like to use this example of kind of what Pinterest may have looked like before the internet, when you maybe had a pin board or you added all your inspirations and all your favorite things. And this is what Pinterest looks like today. So there's a pin here on the left, and there are some Pinterest boards here on the right. So before we dive into how to use Pinterest for your business, I just want to go over these really amazing statistics. The first is that Pinterest is the second largest traffic source, and this is second to Facebook. There are also more than 335 million monthly active users on its platform. And of those users, over 90% will log on to Pinterest with the intention of making or planning a purchase. So think of kids' birthday parties, maybe looking for some home renovation ideas, planning a wedding, or finding your most favorite Etsy product. Also, only 27% of marketers are using Pinterest. So this number is really low. That means there's still a lot of potential for us as business owners to use the platform for marketing our business. Also, 98% of pins are currently unbranded. So there's only 2% of branded pins. That is also great for us as well. And of new signups, 50% of these are males. So if you have a product or service that caters to different genders, this is really good for you as well. Also, 80% of new signups are outside of the US. So if you have a product, a service, or you just want some website traffic from anyone across the world, this is also great for you. This is also the best statistic here, the half-life of these posts. So a half-life would be you would get 50% of your engagement on that post for a certain amount of time, and then you'll get the other 50% of the engagement after that time period. So for a tweet, the half-life of a tweet is 18 minutes. You'll get 50% of your engagement in the first 18 minutes, and then the other 50% of the engagement after that point. For Facebook, it is 30 minutes. For Instagram, it is 19 hours. For YouTube, it is 6 days. And for Pinterest, it's 3.5 months. That is just crazy, you guys. So we should really be using Pinterest more. So if you're wondering why use Pinterest and why you should be using Pinterest as a way to market your business, I'm going to give you a few reasons to get you started and hopefully really motivated to use the platform. The first is organic traffic. Like I mentioned before, over 80% of my website traffic has always come from Pinterest, and I find this to be very similar with a lot of my clients. And I think if you stay consistent and active on the platform, you'll get a lot of traffic and a lot more than you probably expected. Also, it's a great way of building brand awareness. So building up your audience and putting out some content that they really enjoy and want to learn more about. Also, if you're looking to get into promoted pins, which is the paid advertising on Pinterest, there was a study that showed for every $1 spent on promoted pins, there is a $4.80 return on investment. So this is really good compared to other platforms. Okay, so this is the most important thing I'm going to say before we get started into how to use Pinterest is you must have a business account. So if you don't have one yet, you can create one for free or you can convert your personal account to a business account. I would say you probably only want to do that if you already have a lot of content on there that's for your business. You already have a lot of views, a lot of followers and that sort of thing. But if not, start with a business account. It's totally free, like I said, and it's going to provide you with tons of useful data through their analytics that you will need to help strategize. This will also tell you how much traffic is going to your site from Pinterest. It's going to give you some audience demographics and audience insights and tons of other great tools. You also want to make sure that you claim your website and your other social media platforms that are applicable when you edit your profile. This just really helps build your credibility and authenticity on the platform, and it really makes it that much easier if you ever have to go through the process of reporting pins that maybe a spam account has stolen from you, to really show Pinterest that that is you and that is coming from your website and you own that website. In addition, there is something called rich pins. You could probably read more about this on the Pinterest website, but this is a great way to also build in more data on your pins that get pulled from your website. It does require adding some metadata into your website, so if this is something you don't want to tackle, be sure to ask your web developer, and Pinterest will walk you through step by step how to do that. If you don't have rich pins or you're not interested, don't even worry about it at all. You can still really succeed without the use of rich pins. And if you don't even know what they are, don't understand yet, that is something we can get into at a later date. So who is Pinterest for? I get this question all the time. Or I have potential clients and other colleagues who think that if they're location specific, that Pinterest is not for them. And I'm here to tell you that Pinterest is for all of us, whether you're a blogger, you provide services, products, or really anything else. The only thing you have to keep in mind with location is if you are, say, a local doctor's office or dental office, Pinterest might not be the platform for you, but you could go into the promoted pins to really target a specific location. Okay, so when it comes to creating pins on Pinterest, there are just a few things that you need to keep in mind. These are probably the most important tips when it comes to creating pins. The first is making them a 2-to-3 ratio. So I love using Canva. They have templates this size, or if there's another website that you like to use or some other type of graphic design software, you can create pins of this size. I would say avoiding infographics is smart. Infographics are not in anymore. They will get cut off in the Pinterest feed. They're just too long. They have too much going on, too much text. So instead of investing your time in creating those, I would focus on maybe putting up some video pins. Those are really huge on Pinterest right now. And just paying attention to creating quality eye-catching pins. So that would include maybe some easy to read text, simple, easy to read. And lastly, always make sure you watermark your pins. So whether you use your logo or your website name, just have it somewhere discreetly, nothing too big, but also nothing in the corners on the left or the right on the top or bottom, because those might get cut off in the feed. So I would say the top center or the top or the bottom center would be the two best places to watermark your images. In addition to having some text overlays on your pins, you want to keep in mind possibly using some keywords. And there are some other places you will also be needing to use keywords, such as the pin titles, the descriptions, and the board descriptions, which I will go over shortly. But first, I want to tell you about what Pinterest keywords are and how you can find them. So if you see, I started typing in the search bar homemade tortillas, and you see all of these other phrases come up in related searches, such as homemade tortillas flour, homemade tortillas easy. And then you'll also see the colored boxes under the search bar, like easy, flour, authentic, cornmeal, chips. These are other keywords you will also want to incorporate. if it's relevant to that pin. So if you are making homemade corn tortillas, you probably don't want to be mentioning the word flour. And you want everything to flow nicely. So no keywords stuffing or listing, just sentences that flow and make sense. There's also a new feature on Pinterest called Trends. It is still in beta at this time in the US, but you can find this on your business dashboard up in the upper left-hand corner where the drop down is for the analytics. You should see it there. And this is also a great way to look up keywords and kind of see what is trending at certain times of the year and to what volume. And make sure you pay special attention, especially to seasonal content when you are planning your pins and scheduling them out. You also want to keep in mind that seasonal content should be pinned at least 45 days before the season, but I think even 3 to 6 months is ideal. So if you are creating holiday content, you probably want to start doing that in October or even sooner, and then maybe giving it one last pin 45 days before that time. Next, we're going to go over where you should be using Pinterest SEO, also known as Pinterest keywords. The first would be on your pins, so on all titles and descriptions. You never want to leave those blank. That is a great opportunity to really rank on their search engine by providing this useful information. You also want to be using it on your Pinterest boards. This is probably the biggest mistake I see people make, because when you create boards, they don't really ask you to put in a description. It's something you kind of have to go back and edit the board. But this is an opportunity to write a full paragraph using different keywords. And this is really important in the Pinterest algorithm and how they rank you. So make sure that if your board is about recipes, for example, you're talking about in a few sentences that flow and make sense what type of recipes you have on this board, making sure that you include keywords that are relevant to that board. So how often should you pin? This is a really great question, and it is variable for many reasons. It depends on how much content you have, the type of content you have, what type of business you have, whether or not you're new to Pinterest, and all of those things. So I would say overall, I find that those who pin between 15 and 25 times per day usually have the best results on Pinterest. I would say a minimum of 5 times per day is ideal, especially if you're really looking to grow your business on the platform, and definitely no more than 50 times per day. So a photographer who maybe has a ton of content from a photo shoot might pin 50 times per day, because you really want to make sure you're putting out every single picture on the platform and driving that back to your site. Also, there is no longer an 80-20 rule that applies to pinning. So there used to be a rule that, whether it was true or not, that you should be pinning 80% of your own content and 20% of others. And it is okay to pin all of your own, a mix, or more of somebody else's. Just being active and consistent on the platform is the key. It's the most important thing. And that is what the new Pinterest algorithm is really looking for, is just active, consistent, and that fresh new content. You can use a scheduling tool like Tailwind, which I will be going over soon, to make sure that you're putting out those 15 to 25 pins per day without having to be on the platform several times a day or sitting there for hours pinning, because I know you have so many other parts of your business and you're busy with so many different things. It's just impossible to do that. So when it comes to fresh new content on Pinterest, all that means is that it's a different picture than Pinterest has seen before. Here are some examples of what fresh new content might look like. So on the left, it's going to the same blog post, but the image on the left is different from the image on the right. The elements, the placement, the whole design is different. And also the images on the right, this also goes to the same corresponding blog post. But you'll see on the left, it kind of zooms in with the hand, and the text placement is a different area. I'm using yellow versus more of a lavender on the right side. So these would be considered fresh new pins, although they're still going back to a blog post that I've had up on my blog for 8 years. I know I said I was going to touch on Tailwind, so here is more information about Tailwind. They are the Pinterest approved scheduler. They are a partner of Pinterest, and I have been using them for a while now to schedule my content on Pinterest, so I'm not on the platform several times a day, pinning all the time because I need to spend my time elsewhere. So it has been such a time-saving tool. They are a paid scheduling platform, but very affordable. I will have some notes at the bottom of this with my referral link, which will give you an extra free month after you use the trial. So I highly suggest trying out the free trial and then getting that extra free month that could potentially give you 2 months free to really try it out before paying into the service. They also provide more in-depth insights and analytics than you will see on Pinterest. So this is also really useful. It tracks your follower count. You have a way to collaborate with others in your niche through the tribes feature, and there are tons of other great features as well. They also have a scheduling tool for Instagram as well. So if you're really big on Instagram, you can sign up for both memberships for both the Pinterest and the Instagram. Here are some amazing resources that you should utilize. The first is the Simple Pin podcast. It's completely free. Simple Pin Media has a lot of wonderful resources, and one of those includes their Simple Pin Collective. It is a paid membership. I am a part of it myself. I really, really like it. It's a great way to just kind of keep up with the Pinterest community, all the changes, and there's a ton of educational tools and content. So I will also have a referral link to that at the bottom here. And if you're going to get any of your information online, I suggest starting with the Tailwind blog. That is also free, but they get all of their information from Pinterest before it is released to the public. So this is a great way to find the most up-to-date factual information when it comes to Pinterest marketing. Thank you so much for joining me in this webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your feedback because I really hope to be putting out more content like this for you all soon. Thank you again for joining me.